So yes, I live in Boulder. I'm studying environmental studies as well as biology. And before I came out to Boulder, I was highly involved with the environmental sustainability at home as much as I could be. I was the president of the environmental club in high school. And with that, I did a lot of beach sweeps and dune grass plantings. I'm also a member of Surf Rider and Clean Ocean Action, and with those I helped a lot with just things on the shore. So going to Boulder was actually a huge change for me because I didn't have an ocean to work with, and as a surfer it was a big change too, but I went for the environmental studies aspect of it, and I do not regret it at all. On the left actually is me in Philmont for those Philmonters. That's me the day after, well, July 5th, because on July 4th we hiked up Mount Baldy, which was amazing. So scouting has really been a big impact on my life. These are just a bunch of pictures from me, from tigers to wolf to weeblo, and how it was really just a big impact on my life. It really taught me the assets and skills that I have today through great leaders, and especially my scoutmaster right in the bottom right there when he was awarded the Good Scout Award. And that was, and on the right actually is my first trip to Forestburg with Forestburg Scout Reservation, which is in New York, which was with Troop 140. And I always loved Forestburg. It was actually what drew me into scouting. My family before me was always involved in scouting. My mother, who really ultimately got me into it, my uncles and my grandfather, Bud Hassler, who were all involved heavily in scouting. And Forestburg is what drew me to it because I always went with them for the reunions every year. And Forestburg, here it is right here. I mean, we went during the winters. There's me on the bottom right when I was really young going rock climbing and doing a monkey bridge. And then even between Philmont and my college orientation this summer, I had 4 days at home. I chose one of those to go up to Forestburg because I couldn't be a summer without Forestburg. But now this is where it comes into my time when I was elected as the 2014 NISA Biologist Explorer. I mean, I always knew I wanted to make Eagle since I saw my cousin's Court of Honor when I was 3 or 4. So when I got my Eagle in November of 2013, I thought, like, what do I do now? You know, I didn't know what was up. I knew I was going to Philmont that summer, and I thought really that was going to be it. But then this email came along to be the Biologist Explorer and head down to the Amazon. Honestly, at first, I just brushed it off. I was like, I didn't think I was going to get it. The only guy in the nation to go to the Amazon for NISA. So I kind of ignored it. But later that night, my mom brought it up to me, and she encouraged me about it. And she was like, you should go for it. So I looked at it. It was only a short essay was the first part. So I was like, whatever, I'll go for it. And it was 5 sentences it ended up being for that essay. Sent it in. A week later, I found out I was a finalist. And I was like, all right. Don't get too excited. This could be pretty cool, but you don't know yet. So I didn't get my hopes up. I had to make, at this point, I had to make a 3-minute YouTube video, which you can still find on there, about why I should be selected. And actually, my teacher, who I ended up taking with me to the Amazon, was like, dude, this has got to be the coolest video you've ever seen in your life. And I was like, I guess. I was like, but I still didn't have the confidence that I'd make it. But then he said that to me and was just like, all right, well, with that attitude, like, you're not going to get it. And I was like, all right. And he walked away, and I was like, all right, he's right. So I went for it. And a week and a half later, after I sent it in, I found out that I was selected. And my next objective was to pick someone to go with me. And after my mom ultimately said it wouldn't be best for her, I chose my advanced placement environmental science teacher from high school, Eric Blitzel. And he had his minor in marine bio and major in biology, so he was on a little bit the other side of the spectrum from me in environmental studies, but still, the biology still went hand in hand with him. That right picture is actually one of my favorites. That's us in front of a huge tree down in the jungle itself. This thing was massive. I don't even know how to explain how big this thing was, but it doesn't even, the width of it is still wider than that picture. So when we were down there, well, before we set off, we had to get a bunch of immunizations and stuff, and it felt like an eternity before we could go. And I had film out before it in college orientation, and then finally the time came to go, and we traveled off to Ecuador. And we jumped on a plane on July 26th, and we had 10 days total. 2 days for travel to and from Ecuador, 1 day in Quito, Ecuador, to explore the city. And on the left is actually a llama at the youth hostel that we stayed at. His name was Paco. He was really cool. So they're actually like the only domesticated mammals that the indigenous people of South America actually had before horses and stuff came. But so when we got down there, we explored Quito. We had a tour guide bring us around, Maria, who was awesome. We also had a cab driver, Mario. And now I'm from New Jersey, and I've seen a lot of people driving around in New York City, and I thought they were crazy drivers. But then I got down to Quito, and these guys were just blowing my mind how fast these guys were whipping through the streets and stuff. But it was a beautiful city to see. We saw the Basilica del Nacional Voto in the bottom left there. Now, that is one of the oldest basilicas in the New World. We also traveled to the Mitad del Mundo, which is the middle of the world, which indigenous people believe to be the middle of the world. And top right is actually me standing on the equator. Now, this is why they believed it was the middle of the world, because even before the Spanish conquistadors and the French got there, they still were able to figure it out that was the equator. So that is actually me standing on both sides of it, my right foot on the northern hemisphere and my left foot on the southern hemisphere. So at this point I was very, very far from Antarctica and the cold. But what's also really cool about the equator is something, as a science guy, I'd have to tell you this because it's really cool to me, but the Coriolis effect. So our tour guide around the Mitad del Mundo took this sink and put it on the equator and just poured water in it and put some leaves. And on the equator, it drained straight down. But then she moved it like 2 feet to the north and did the same thing, put the leaves in it, except you saw that it drained clockwise. Then she moved it again to the south, and it did the opposite and went counterclockwise. And this was really cool, and this is all because of the spinning of the Earth. And even just a few feet away from the equator, it still made a difference. Now, my current environmental professor at Colorado said this. He's like, oh, it depends how you pour the water in and stuff. He says it's bogus, but I think seeing is believing. And I saw, so I believe. But also, when we were in Quito, we saw the 3 surrounding mountains. Now, Quito is actually the second tallest capital in the world at 9,200 feet. And these 3 mountains surround it. They're huge. They're really beautiful to see. This is one of them. This is another one out in the distance there. And then this was a third one. Now, what was scary about this one, that it erupts every 500 years, and it hasn't erupted in 560 years. So I was like, all right, that's good to know. But yeah, it was really cool because Quito gets all of their fresh water from these 3 mountains. And they're also believed to be spiritually involved in the landscape from the indigenous peoples, even like pre-Incan times as well. So then it finally came time to go to Tipitini Biodiversity Station in Yasuni National Park. Now, it took us 6 hours to get there from Quito. We woke up at 5 a.m. on Monday, July 28th, and we headed to Quito Airport, where from there we took an hour flight over the Andes down into a village called Coca. And from Coca, we took a 2-hour boat ride down a Napu River, which was very smooth sailing. It wasn't anything rough like Alex experienced. And man, I don't know how you did that. But so we took a 2-hour boat ride down Napu River to an oil checkpoint, which was an oil company's land that they didn't begin to extract oil from yet, but they were working on it. This point, it was a little intimidating because we we pulled up, and there was a bunch of, I guess, their oil company hired army, and they're standing there with the M60, like just machine guns. And you were not allowed to take any pictures or do anything except walk in a straight line, get your stuff checked out, and then hop on the truck. So we hopped on the truck and went down an hour down the Maxis Road, which is the oil company's road, to the Tiputini River. And once we got there, we jumped on another 2-hour boat ride that took us finally to Tiputini. And it was a beautiful ride. Honestly, I slept most of it because I was just so tired from just traveling. But I woke up and we arrived, and it was just amazing. This is just to give you an idea of where Tiputini is in Ecuador. It's very close to the borders of Colombia and Peru. It's just way in the basin there, and so pristine and just beautiful. So we saw a bunch of things. It was really hard to choose my favorite pictures. But it's located in the northern portions of the Yasuni National Park, which per hectare, which for those that don't know what a hectare is, it's about, it's like a metric acre, kind of. So per hectare, they have the greatest biodiversity in the entire world. So it was incredible just to think about that as I was walking in. Now that top picture is the first view that I saw of the station. All I saw was the stairs going up, and I was just so anxious to see what this place was like, and it was so cool. But so their station has over 40 kilometers of trails, which we fortunately got to hike all of them. And throughout them, they have a bunch of these camera trap programs, which is actually what I was sent there to work with from NISA. But also TBS, that's Tiputini Biodiversity Station. So if I refer to it as that, please don't be confused. But they have a canopy tower that sits way up on top of the canopy, overlooks the jungle for miles. We climbed up that numerous times, watched the sunset, watched the sunrise a couple times. Walked up at one time, saw a tarantula sitting on the stairs, like way at the top. Looked at it. We're like, let's just go back down. It was just intimidating. They don't hurt, but they're scary looking. There's also a catwalk that goes through the canopy. Now, rather than being on top of it, it's just a bunch of suspension bridges that go through it. Now, this is actually the tower itself. This is overlooking the top. That's a walkway that you climb all the way up. The first time going up was terrifying for me because you're feeling it sway, and like the tree you're anchored to is huge, magnificent, but it was still just a little scary. But finally, I got used to it, and it was just beautiful up there. And what's really cool is that you could hear the howler monkeys from like miles around, and it sounds like wind just whipping through the canopies. And that's what I really thought it was at first, and I was like, I don't feel any wind. But our tour guide told us that they're howler monkeys, and with his binoculars, he showed us them way out in the distance, which was really cool. This is also the catwalk. They just go through, and there's on the top left there's a ladder that goes all the way up, like into that tree. I didn't do it. Now, my teacher, Eric, decided he did it. And as soon as he got up, he looked around and was like, "Why did you let me do this?" And I was like, "Your decision, man, you know." But it was really cool. It was a little scary because it was raining that day. Well, it rained every day, but it was raining at that moment. So it was like swaying a little bit. It was slippery, but it was really cool. Now, this is my absolute favorite picture that I personally took. I actually took it in the actual vicinity of the biodiversity station. He was just up in a tree eating whatever that is. But it was just so beautiful, these monkeys. This is actually a woolly monkey. Just how they didn't have a care in the world because they felt so safe in this jungle environment, and that's what's so beautiful about it. Now, NISA actually did send me there to work with the Camera Trap program. And now this is a program that has been going on since 2004. It's run by Diego Mosquera, who I work with, and he has collected over 90,000 plus pictures in those 10 years. Now, these are just 3 of them, 3 examples that he gave me. There's an ocelot top right, which is a little bit, it's smaller than a jaguar, bigger than a house cat. They have huge eyes. I didn't see one, unfortunately. Bottom right, there's a giant anteater. And then bottom left is a giant armadillo, which we did see. We saw it when we were walking in between the library and our cabins in the station at night. And we heard something rustling around really close to us in the jungle. And we got so nervous. We had no idea what it was. Honestly, I jumped to conclusions like, it's a jaguar. I was like, it's going to get us, you know. But then we saw it come out of it, and it was just walking around, and we were like, oh, it's an armadillo. But then we were like, wait, that thing's pretty big. It was big. It really is a giant armadillo. Unfortunately, I didn't get to see one of these guys, but they're just magnificent creatures. Diego was showing me all the footage he has of all the jaguars, and it's just, they're incredible. They're so beautiful. Some other things we did see, actually, are some white-lipped peccaries. These are a picture from the camera traps up top, but bottom right is actually one that I took. We were hiking, and it was really funny because this thing was probably like 40 feet from us, and we didn't see it at all until our guide, Froilan, was like, wait, look. And we were like, what? Oh, wow. It was really cool. And these things were just, they're like big hogs, but they were pretty cool. So this is us working with the camera traps. I actually, Nisa wanted me to bring down a camera and donate it to him. I was going to bring a few, but then I talked to Diego initially, and he was like, can you bring down batteries? Because lithium batteries down there cost $5 individually in Ecuador, but they're $1.70 here. So I brought over 300 batteries for him, and he was pumped about it. So it was really cool working with them. Unfortunately, these are the only two pictures we got because as we were in a rainforest, the humidity would fog up our lenses a lot, and also the rain wouldn't let us use them. So we didn't get much pictures of it, but we did work with Diego a few days, and it was really cool to seeing the results that we got. Actually, one of the days we pulled out a chip of one of the things, and when we got back, we saw that out of the 90,000 pictures that Diego has, he had 8 or 9 pictures of a jaguar undi, which is a little bit smaller than a jaguar, a little bit bigger than an ocelot. So one of the cameras that we retrieved from on one of the days, he had footage of it, and he was very, very excited about it, which was awesome. So it was really cool to see that. And this was our guide, Froilan, because Diego was a very busy man. So Froilan took us out a few days when Diego was doing things. He showed us a bunch of things. He took us swinging on like Tarzan vines through the jungle. Actually, I went for a really crazy one, and it snapped. Thankfully, it didn't hurt myself. But he also made us eat these plants, just chew on them for 2 minutes, and our tongues turned blue. Mine actually stayed blue for like 2 days, and he thought it was the weirdest thing because it was only supposed to stay blue for like an hour or two. And that's what happened to Eric. But the next day, mine was still blue, and they're all making fun of me for it. So Froilan also took us fishing. He took us up on a canoe. We went fishing for piranhas on hand lines. I was very bad at it, but Eric and him caught a few, and we brought them back and ate them. They were delicious, by the way. We tracked down a couple monkeys, too. There's squirrel monkeys bottom left and some woolly monkeys up top right. We followed them and studied their behaviors, which was amazing. These were just some other animals we saw. What was really cool to me was seeing these turtles top right. They and there's butterflies flying around them. I don't know if you can see them that well, but these butterflies and them worked a perfect mutual relationship where these turtles would just sunbathe and these butterflies would come by and eat the bacteria out of their eyes. It was really cool, and it was just cool to see that. But all this beauty is threatened by oil, and it's very unfortunate because as one of the most biodiverse places in the world, oil companies still have a threat on it. And this is actually a picture of all the biodiversity of it. And over to the far right picture on the left is the area of Yasuni and how much the red is the biodiversity richness there. But this is a picture of Ecuador. And the far right is all the Amazonia area. And it's all split up by oil concession blocks that oil companies own. It's really a bummer to know that, because that they can still go in there and take out oil if they want. And this is Yasuni, and how these are the 3 companies that own those oil blocks. They haven't gone in yet, but they got the approval to do it, which is it's a bummer, you know. And all that oil will only last the U.S. for 40 days, yet it would destroy so much biodiversity, which would be just priceless. So this is actually a oil refinery around that area. And this is actually the Maxis Road that I'd be a hypocrite to say that, I used it to get to Yasuni, but the thing is, it's going deeper and deeper into the jungle, and it's splitting up the ecological zones and separating the habitats, which is just not too great. And it's also causing that roadkill of anteaters, top right, and other things as well. And it's just it's really putting a dent into the forest itself. Also, there's another thing that's very important about the Amazon as a globe. This is the hockey stick curve, which this is just from a ice glacier, but it shows the CO2 rise of the entire planet over the years. And the Amazon actually is a big carbon sink, one of the biggest in the world. And as we destroy the forest and pump more CO2 into the air, the CO2 keeps going up because there's not much more to take more in it. So that's one huge reason globally why the Amazon is important as a carbon sink. But this brings me to my last point, but what can we do? There's just, this list is endless, but ride your bike as much as you can, walk as much as you can, or take mass transit, you know. Reduce, reuse, and recycle as much as you possibly can. Use reusable water bottles if you can. I always have this thing on me. These are bad. But camp sustainably too. You know, use mess kits rather than paper plates. You could, there's so many things. It's just endless. When you're brushing your teeth, turn the water off in between how much you are brushing, turn it off, and I don't know, that kind of stuff. Shave in the shower for men. That's what I do. Saves water. Take shorter showers, you know. But it's just, there's so much we can really do, and I've learned so much from this conference, and I want all of you to do the same. Take it back to your daily lives, you know, and just do as much as you can to live as sustainably as possible, camp as sustainably as possible, and just lessen your carbon footprint on the world as a whole. And together, we can stop this destruction and keep places like Antarctica and the Amazon for future people to love and enjoy. Now, I would love to see NISA send back eagles. Now, I was the first one, which was awesome, but I would like to see them do it for as long as I live. And this won't be possible if these oil companies keep going in there. So if we do as much as we can to reduce this effect of our impact on the environment, then hopefully that people can enjoy it as much as I have. But thank you.